This is Radio Prague International coming to you from the Czech capital.
Welcome to Faces of Czech Music, Radio Prague International and Czech Center's podcast. Our listeners know that we celebrate the Year of Czech Music, and in doing so we try to introduce new names and new faces representing contemporary Czech music. I am Petr Dudek and my guest today is Jiří Trtík. Welcome to our studio. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me. Hello everyone.
You are a composer, conductor and educator. Is that all?
That's right. I think it's all. I don't know. I don't know who I am.
Music fans probably know your name quite well. But let me say that you are also a recipient of the OSA Award for the most successful Czech composer of classical music outside the Czech Republic. That was in 2021. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. That was a surprise.
To understand it better, does the award mean that you are good outside your mother country, but not so good at home?
Maybe, yeah. I think I think you're right.
No, seriously, how do you feel vis-a-vis the Czech musical establishment? Is it okay? Do you play concerts for the public in Czech Republic very often?
Not so often, although this year we had the premiere of Kafka's opera. It was amazing. It was 2 times sold out completely. A lot of young people. So I think something is changing, and really I feel I'm connecting more with Czech audience than from the years before. But you're absolutely right. Last year or a couple of years before, I had very little concerts here.
A coincidence or too much work abroad?
I don't know. I really don't know. This is a very interesting, deep psychological question, but I don't have the immediate answer. I would love to know this. Maybe it's my fault. I also used to live in the United States for 4 years, so maybe that's also why I also needed to grow as a composer too. So it's many things together.
We may return to the topic, but you mentioned the opera, which had a premiere here in Prague in June. The name is Kafka's Letter to His Father, and in fact we heard a little bit of it a few minutes ago. I read very good reviews of the performance. Were you satisfied?
I was absolutely, even beyond that, and I was really touched by the whole process, by the whole energy, atmosphere, again the audience, because sometimes we tend to think that young people don't care so much about opera and classical music. This was not the case. We really had a lot of young people, and I was getting a lot of messages from my students, teenagers, but from all generations. Even today I got a message about Kafka's opera from someone from the audience saying how actual this topic is, how present it is, how these things are still happening and how much they resonate in our society. So I'm totally happy about that.
Will there be more performances?
No.
Why not, if it was such a success? I'm surprised.
That's a good question, but we should talk to National Theatre. I think they told us they are not interested, that they don't have money.
Let us speak about Kafka's letter to his father. As a piece of literature, it's a very specific piece of writing, I would say. Formally it is a letter, but it's also quite long, it's quite intimate, and it's very personal. What made the text interesting for you?
The topic itself, the mental health, is something that we are all kind of dealing with these days, and we found it very actual. And to be honest, our librettist poet Jan Škrob was the one who suggested this text to me, and I read it and I absolutely fell in love with it, and I knew this is the text I would love to set in music, because I knew I want to do Kafka, I just didn't know which one, and so he kind of led me this way.
Did you mind that the letter does not really have a story in a conventional sense of the word? Doesn't opera need a story?
There is not a story, and yet there is a story. It's Kafka's life. There is a direction going from somewhere to somewhere, and that's already enough, I think, for telling some meaning.
Do I get it right that you were not only influenced by the text of Kafka's letter to his father, but also by the facts from Franz Kafka's life?
Oh, absolutely. And we were very lucky to meet Věra Koubová, who is a translator of Franz Kafka, and we were working with her very closely to make sure that we are loyal to this incredible genius writer, which we all felt it's such a huge responsibility to even touch any of his work.
Is the relationship of Franz Kafka to his strong and dominant father an interesting topic for you?
Oh, absolutely. It's very personal.
Is your father Hermann Kafka?
I don't know. I'm putting these pieces together now. It's not about blame. It's about having certain distance from your childhood and just simply reflecting on it. And I think things which are described in the letter, which is distrust, anxiety, humiliation, belittling, fears, these are all things that we somehow, more or less all of us, experience that in certain ways, and it has effect on us and on our adult life. So it's maybe good to go through this process of sorting these things out, and it can help us to become who we really are.
Do you think that every father has a piece of Hermann Kafka in him?
Yeah, I think it's because it's a symbol of something. I think probably, but it's more about being able to listen and to understand, to really care for the children and understand them, even though if you think they are weird or different or they do something crazy as, like writing music or writing text, for some people it's not understandable. They don't know what it is. Why do they do this? Why don't they do something more rentable, something that makes money, something that is reliable? And so it's something new and strange, and they fear it. They maybe think that their son is not good enough. Children kind of mirror their parents, and they trigger some bad shit, and so there is this like conflict going on. But I think it's more about trying to overcome it and mutual trust and really emotional support, not financial, but emotional.
That's very interesting, but it's quite true that the text is old. It's more than a century old, and it was written in quite a specific situation compared to our times. Kafka was a creative mind, and his father was a strong businessman.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you still feel that the text speaks to us even today?
I think so. I think it's eternal topic, this son and father relationship. It's something that all sons and all fathers have to experience. It's really fascinating that it's so eternal and deep and healthy in a way, healthy to talk about it.
Kafka addresses his father. Franz writes to Hermann Kafka. Mm-hmm. In your opera, Franz has 12 fathers. Why so many?
There is one part of the letter where Franz is making this comparison that, I feel like my father is lying on the map of the world, and there is no space for me. He is just everywhere. So this is kind of the reason why, like, we wanted to fill the stage with the father, so there is no space for Kafka. So he's just on the edge of the stage, or even sometimes pushed out of the stage, and he's in the audience, kind of watching what's going on, but not connecting. So that's why.
It's quite funny because you permitted yourself to multiply the character of a father into 12 people on the stage. On the other hand, if I'm not mistaken, Kafka in his letter speaks about different ladies, his sisters mostly. But on the stage, there is only one lady playing 3 or 4 characters at once. Is that right?
That's absolutely right.
So
there is no balance. There is no balance. I know. It's this.
You did not have enough ladies willing to cooperate with you?
No. This. Yeah, maybe. But this is because, specifically in the letter, Franz Kafka doesn't speak a lot about his mother, and he doesn't speak a lot about his girlfriends. Specifically in this letter, we all know that ladies, girlfriends, sisters, mother, they played a really important role in Kafka's life. We knew there must be a female element in the opera.
Of course.
Absolutely. And there is really not a lot of stuff written about his mom or sister. We had to do it like this.
Excuse me, on the other hand, if I'm not wrong, I'm not a literary historian myself, but I think that Kafka wrote the letter soon after the unsuccessful attempt to get married. You know, that absence of a lady next to him was still in the air, and I think it influenced the text. So I understand that you needed
absolutely
a woman character.
The whole letter kind of leads into this direction that why am I not able to get married? So it's like a brilliant resolution of the letter, the failure of marriage. I recommend everyone to read this letter.
There is another thing I wanted to mention about the opera. You made Kafka's Jewishness quite obvious in costumes and in music, of course. Was it intentional? Because Kafka was, let's say it, he was not really an Orthodox Jew. He was, a little distanced.
Yeah, you're right. He had a very ambivalent relationship with
religion.
Jewish religion. This is something that I would do differently, but it's not my competence. It's the decision of the director, the stage director.
One more question concerning this topic. Do you like klezmer music? Because I heard some tones of klezmer music in the opera.
I slightly put it there, and I do, of course. I love klezmer music. It's beautiful and brilliant. He wrote somewhere in some diaries, I think, journals, that he was excited after listening some very energetic music, and we all think it was klezmer music. So there is just a slight little touch of klezmer music, but not too much.
This is Faces of Czech music, and my guest is Jiří Trtík. You are the leader of a very interesting musical ensemble called Stromy, which I'm sure should evoke the word stromy in Czech, trees, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We have to pronounce it stromy. There is no other way doing it.
So Stromy Ensemble is quite special, as I said. It was founded in 2021 with the idea of a premiere project, Concert for Forest.
Yes.
Tell me something about the project. Concert for Forest. Was it a performance or simply a concert held in a forest?
It's a performance. It's a site-specific bassoon concerto with a dancer and a choir.
And was it performed how many times? Once?
It was performed in the woods just once. It's extremely difficult to do that.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Then it was performed once in Hamu, and then actually 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks, it was performed again here in Prague. So I'm super happy that this piece, this musical homage to trees, is still alive. It's still being performed.
What did it look like? I mean, concert for forests. Did you have an audience?
I was so surprised. Yes, we had an audience. It was quite full for every performance. I think around 120, 30, something like this. It really surprised me how many people showed up.
I was not there, but I saw some pictures, and I saw musicians standing and playing in the clearing, and there are trees behind them. How did you find the place suitable for such a performance?
That was of course tricky, but once I took a walk, and I think I was alone, to Mníšek pod Brdy. We knew there is this cluster Skalka, and there is it's not very far from Prague exactly, so there is many suitable aspects of this place, and so I took a walk in the woods, and I discovered this place quite early on, and then we did some more research in other places, and we all agreed this one is somehow special, so I think we were lucky.
Do you often go to the forest?
Oh yes, I grew up in a forest.
Do you pick mushrooms, as many Czechs do?
Actually, I don't, but just last Sunday I did, and I was in Latvia, and I had a concert there with Kremerata Baltica, and then one Latvian composer took me to Latvian forest to pick mushrooms, so how can I refuse this offer?
Concert for Forest was a one-time occasion. It repeated once in Prague at the Academy of Music, but never ever after.
We did a city performance of Concert for Forest. We think that the message behind this piece is very important to communicate and to let the audience think about their relationship with nature. It's quite the opposite from the romantic point of view, because the romantic, if you listen to romantic music, let's say even Smetana, but Strauss, Alpine Symphony and pieces like this, it's all glorification of nature. It's all about romanticizing the nature. So the nature is eternal and the human is perishable. And so we admire the nature, and so this perspective is different. This perspective is, there is no border between us and nature. If we are not treating the nature nicely, if we are killing the nature, then we are also killing ourselves. So it's not that nature is eternal. It really is a different point of view on nature.
Tell me more about the ensemble. I mean, the Strome ensemble. Who are the members?
They are wonderful, wonderful young musicians and friends, and I really say this with my all gratitude that they are playing with me. We have a really wonderful group of people, very talented. It's kind of like my family.
Do you like to work with foreign musicians?
Yes, I do. I think they all bring different perspectives, different ways of thinking, different level of musicianship also. So there is a nice, we all communicate in English, we meet on projects. I think everyone is benefiting from it.
This autumn, the Strome ensemble can be heard in 5 countries. Poland, France, Germany, Serbia and the Czech Republic. What is on the program?
We're premiering 3 pieces of Czech composers. We commissioned a piece from Mikuláš Tichý, Jana Vorošová and myself, and they are all reflecting on life or work of Bedřich Smetana.
This is really funny, because in this program we like to say that we focus on contemporary musicians and do not return to old masters like Dvořák or Smetana, but we do come back to them anyway. Do you like Bedřich Smetana?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, how dear composer he is to me. How much I've learned from him and how much I admire him.
Why do young composers return to Smetana particularly? Nicole Bokova spoke here in this program about her composition inspired by My Country by Smetana.
Yeah, I've heard the premiere, by the way.
Why is Smetana so attractive to you?
I think because he's genius. But not only that, but if you read the story of his life, you can relate to many things. And he was a composer, and I also try to be a composer. So you can learn from his life and from his path so much. As much as from his compositions. When you read them or listen to them, I think they're just brilliant.
Can you describe the composition you contributed to the program this autumn?
It's called Vltava Recomposed. It is dedicated to Bedřich Smetana. The idea behind this is that, and I mentioned this different perspective of nature a little bit. So the idea behind this is that Vltava River changed a lot in last 150 years. It's no longer the same as when Bedřich Smetana saw Vltava. So we know that Vltava now has about 9 dams.
Exactly.
Which there were not there before. These huge concrete constructions. It's polluted. It has some problems with drought too. So this environmental perspective is in this composition. So it's a reflection of current state of Vltava River, and we can all pretend how beautiful it is, but let's be honest.
Is it critical? I mean,
absolutely. We have to really start paying more attention to nature and stop polluting it and work in harmony with it.
We have mentioned that you are quite successful abroad. Do you think that foreign listeners would appreciate this kind of music?
I hope so. I had a masterclass last week or 2 weeks ago in Latvian Academy of Music. And the response of the students was wonderful. We really had a great conversations and very inspiring discussions, great questions. Really, I feel very positive. I hope so. I mean, what can I say?
Says Jiří Trtík. Thank you for coming. I wish you the best of luck.
Oh, thank you so much. It was such a great pleasure.
Faces of Czech Music is a Radio Prague International and Czech Center's podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.
And the music you heard today were the quotations from Kafka's letter to his father, Concert for Forest, and Vltava Recomposed by Jiří Trtík and Stromy Ensemble.